7 o'clock. Well, here, I'm in Dallas, so I'll get started in just a second. I can't wait any longer. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So today, oh, someone sent me a message. So what I have here is I have my laptop up. So I was hoping I could see your messages on here, and I just saw one pop up on my phone, but I don't see it on my computer. So maybe, let's see, just bear with me while I get this started. Okay, I can only see the messages on my phone, so I'll check at the end. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the common mistakes I see with feeding picky eaters and how we can avoid them or reverse them, how to get your little one to try new foods, and the maybe surprising thing that I like to see them doing even more, way more than I care about them actually eating the food. And then a few bonus tricks for increasing veggies, because that is one that people seem to always struggle with. And then I'm going to do some Q&A, basically until my babysitter has to leave. So if you have questions, hang around till the end. If you can't stay the whole time, feel free to go to my website at MamaKnowsNutrition.com. I have a picky eater starter guide that you can download on there and lots of helpful stuff. So a quick about me. I'm Kacie Barnes. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. I specialize in feeding little ones birth through age 6. I went to graduate school here at UT Southwestern in Dallas. I have 2 kids, Teddy and Amelia. They're 5 and 2, and we just got a puppy on Sunday. So my world has been turned completely upside down since then. And I've been drinking a lot of margaritas since quarantine started. My husband makes really good ones. He's had a lot of time to perfect the recipe. So before I dive right in, I just want to start out by saying that there's only so much in your control in regards to the way that your kid eats. And even if you did everything right, there's still a chance that they're going to have picky eating behaviors, because a lot of it is actually just genetically inclined. Like you had nothing to do with it. It's in their genes. So take some of the pressure off of yourself and know that it's not like you didn't screw them up. I know that if you're here today, you want to learn. You are an amazing parent. You're doing a great job, or caregiver, and you really, truly care about their well-being. And you have, I mean, we probably all screw them up somehow at some point, right? But not majorly. So a lot of the success really comes from revising your expectations and what are you expecting is going to happen. We can't compare your child to any other child. You can't compare it to a brother or a sister. You can't compare it to some kid down the street who eats anything and everything and like snacks on kale for all day, you know? So remember that this is just about your child, where they are right now, where can they be in the future? Because it can be better than how it is right now, but it's not going to be perfect. Okay, so let's talk about the common mistakes that I see with feeding picky eaters. Let me make sure there's no messages that came in before I got started. No, we look good. Okay, let's dive right in. So a little story. When I was in my graduate program at UT Southwestern, I was doing an internship over at Children's at the outpatient center. And this woman came in with her son. He was about 6 years old, and she was just like, you could tell she had it. She had a whole bunch of kids with her, and she's like, I am checked out. But so she's there, and she says, you know, he only eats Cheetos and chocolate chip muffins, and he drinks soda. That is it. That is literally it. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me these are literally the only foods he'll eat? She says, yes. This is literally it. I said, okay, what if those foods are not available? She said, well, then I have to go get them. I said, really? So, okay, you're out of Cheetos, you're out of muffins. He can't make do with anything else. No, he gets very mad. He gets really mad, and I have to go to the store. And right then I wanted to like grab her and shake her and be like, you are in control. You are the parent. And obviously this is a very extreme example. And what I don't want us to be is controlling, because a lot of times if we're too controlling, then we don't see good success with that. But you are in control. And so the thing to remember here is you provide, they decide. You are the gatekeeper of the foods that come into the house. And if you want them to try a variety of things, eventually they need to be exposed to those things. So this child who's getting Cheetos and chocolate chip muffins literally never saw anything else be offered to him. I mean, we can't really blame him, right? Because he didn't get exposed to anything. So we want to shift our mindset from, you know, they'll never eat it. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like any of that. He'll never eat it. And say, they might. I don't know. Maybe I don't have extremely high hopes, but there's a chance. And that's kind of where you want to be, because sometimes they do surprise you. And I really like to see just being able to offer the things. And then they're in control of if they eat what you offer and how much. But remember that you don't have to get stuck offering just a few things because it's the only thing they'll accept. We can expand what they will accept over time, but they need that exposure. So I'm gonna pop a link here in the chat, and someone let me know if it comes up. This one is a blog post, if your toddler won't eat dinner. So I'm just gonna put in some resources for you guys along the way. If there's any particular topic that sticks out to you, okay, thank you, Kendall. And it's something that you want to save for later. So I will put some links in there as I go. The next thing, a story from another client that I had, and she had a picky eater. He was again around that 5 or 6. He was the youngest of 3 kids. Shannon, I'm going to, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. How do I do this? Because I wanted to address that. Your comment popped up and went away, so let me see it. What if the kid won't put the new food even in their mouth? Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that in a little bit and talk more about exposure. It's okay if they don't put it in their mouth, and we don't want to force it, because forcing it doesn't work. I mean, I see my husband try to do this, and he's like, just eat it, just eat it. Does my son eat it? No. So that's okay. We want to build towards that. So let's talk about this client who had a picky eater. She's like, I don't know what to do. I did an in-home consult with her because before coronavirus, we used to see clients in their homes here. So I went over, and they had a snack drawer, and they had the most awesome snacks. Like, I was just in awe. I said, like, I will move in. Look at this. So much stuff. So they were totally stocked up. This boy could get a snack whenever he wanted to. But she was frustrated because he wouldn't eat what she served at meals. And she said he only likes snack food. I can't get him to eat this. And when we look at it from his perspective, why would he want to eat a meal really when he sees all his favorite snacks are available for him whenever he wants it? So when I talked to her about that, things really clicked for her, and she's like, oh, I never really even thought that he's just like filling up on snacks and then not building up hunger for his meal. So what we need to do for our toddlers, whether they're picky or not, this is really important for them, is to get them on a schedule, a meal and snack schedule. This does not have to be a rigid, like, unless you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be like, okay, it's exactly 7:30, breakfast now, and then like 2 hours later. My husband's in the military, so I think sometimes it rubs off on me. But then, snack time, we roughly want them to eat every 2 to 3 hours when they're in the 1 to 5 age range. Once they get past 5, they can go a little bit longer, but it really is about every 2 to 3 hours that you're offering something. They may not always eat, but they need that time in between to build up hunger. Because if they never really get hungry, think about yourself. You go out to drinks with friends back in the day when we could still do that, and you'd already eaten dinner, but someone orders nachos or fries or whatever is your favorite, and you're like, I'm not really hungry. I'll probably eat like a couple, but I'm not hungry. So if they're having too many snacks, then they come to their meal. I guess I kind of reversed it in my example, but just think about if you're eating too often, if they're eating too often, they don't build up that hunger and they're not really excited to like eat broccoli because they're not that hungry. So a lot of times that can happen if there's too much snacking going on. And I'm going to now link to you a post where I give a sample for schedule for like a 1-year-old and then a little bit older toddler, if you want to take a look at that and see what that looks like. Now, we also have our picky eaters who really like things a certain way. They're very particular. This is true in your house if you've ever picked the wrong plate, picked the wrong utensils, cut the food the wrong way, cooked it too long, cooked it too short, it's too hot, it's too cold. They will let you know when it's not quite right. And there was one time, my son, hopefully he can't hear me, he's around 3, and I was serving, I think like tacos or something, so there's shredded cheese. I put some on his plate and it wasn't enough for him. No, more cheese. So like, okay, I give him, I want a mountain of cheese. And my husband and I were just like, whoa, we understand cheese is amazing, but he just was like red face, like a mountain of cheese. So we have our jokes about needing a mountain of cheese, but he is definitely in this wave like that, wanting things a certain way, wanting the same foods a certain way. So the way that we can break them out of this rigidity, inflexibility, is to start by incorporating really small changes. So for example, what I like to use is the taking turns rule, where our foods need to take a turn. And if we served it yesterday, we don't serve it today. So a lot of parents will tell me like, I'm in just this dinner rut of cycling through like chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese. And we can break away from that by one, having this rule. Let's see, I think a question that just came in. Okay. And making some changes. So we're not going to serve the same exact thing every single day. And even if we have to, if they're that limited, you're at least going to change the way it looks. If they do eat a little bit of a variety, I still want you to change the way that things look so they don't get stuck in needing things to be a certain way. So for example, take a waffle. One day we're going to cut it into strips. Another day we're going to cut it into smaller pieces. Next week, we're going to buy a different brand of waffle. So it's going to look a little bit different. And this is helping them to be more flexible. So down the road, they go to someone else's house. You're out at a restaurant. The store's out of the thing that they like. They can be a little more flexible because they build up that confidence to know, I can handle it when things look a little bit different. So I'm going to include a link now. This is for my breakfast choice cards. You can really do this with any meal, but I made these a couple years ago. Oops, Where am I? Zoom. Okay, let me put this in there. These are downloadable cards, and they just have common breakfast foods on them. And what I would do is, I used to do this with my son, I would give him the night before 2 or 3 choices, things that I knew I had on hand, I knew I had time to make it the next day, and say, you choose, because that way I could be in control of the choices. I could vary it so he wasn't eating the same thing every day. So we needed to work on that variety. And then they really like to feel like they have some sort of ownership in it. So him feeling like he had some control over the meal. Oh, okay. I see that there's a Q&A box, and that's separate from the comments. So I'm going to I'll answer these Q&As at the end. So don't worry, I will answer you, but I want to get through this first. Okay, so now let's talk about how we get them to try new foods. And I'll talk about the thing that I care about even more than the trying, like that question about, well, if they won't put it in their mouth, that's okay. I think that a lot of us get this pressure about dinner time, and a lot of times there's like battles at the dinner table of wanting them to try something, they don't want to, they get upset, or maybe even everyone's just tired at the end of the day. And I sometimes think like, I think to that picture perfect dinner in my mind of, you know, some TV show where like everyone's happy and there's like placemats and candles, and we're sitting at the table like passing green beans and laughing, and that's like not what dinner looks like. If I talk to any parent with a toddler, it's very rare. So I'm sure a lot of you are like, yeah, no, that's not dinner time in our house. And so dinner time can often be a bad time to try new foods. It really is. So I want you to think about moving it up earlier in the day, and even moving it out of a mealtime. So getting them to get in the kitchen with you and just to be able to explore the foods with no pressure to eat it is a huge step. I often talk about like dating foods before they, it's kind of like, you know, if you date someone, you need to go out with them a few times before you're like comfortable with them. And it's kind of like that with food for kids. A lot of the time is like the first time, it's a lot of times overwhelming to like go all the way and put it in their mouth if they're not real comfortable with it yet. But how we can get them more comfortable with that food is by having them interact with it in a low pressure setting. So getting them in the kitchen with you. I'm gonna post this link, has kitchen tasks for toddlers. So if you want some help getting started, keep losing my Zoom link. This one is kitchen tasks for toddlers. And even if it's like honestly dumping frozen corn into a bowl, that is good. That is helpful. So don't feel like you need to be making this huge elaborate dinner. That's not the case. Like even something that's totally unnecessary, like something that I'll have my kids do is transfer something from one bowl to another. So like I really didn't need them to do that, but they're interacting with the food and they're also not bothering me. So that helps too. And I can like actually get something done. My son is notorious for like actually trying things when I do that. So that is something really good to know, and know that you're making progress by doing that. So you can say like, yay, they touched the food. Yay, maybe they like touched it to their mouth or something when they thought you weren't looking. And that is good. We want them to develop this confidence with it, and even just touching it is great. Okay, now let's talk about more of that low pressure environment. Now, I think like if someone were to tell me, come on, we're going skydiving, I would be like, no thanks. And they're like, just do it. Just do it. I'd still be like, yeah, no, I'm good. They're like, come on, like, just jump. Let's go. But again, I'm like, no, I'm not ready. So a lot of times we might be kind of in their face about wanting them to try something. And we're like, what's the big deal? Like, just put it in your mouth. I'll even sometimes tell my son, like, you drank the most disgusting tasting medicine ever. I promise that that's way worse than any food that you're ever gonna have. But they still have a fear around it. So we need to acknowledge that and respect that and know that that is real. It is a fear for them, the same way that you would feel if someone was like, just jump out of the plane. You're like, no, not happening. That's how they feel too. So when we keep trying to like make them do it, just not going to get us anywhere. So we just need to give it up and think more about these low pressure exposing them. So something that I like to do is the like it, learning it method. And this means that you're going to pair one thing that they like. You're always going to have something that they like present at a meal. Some pediatricians usually are the ones to recommend this. They'll say, just put the food in front of them and like they'll get hungry enough that they'll eventually eat it. I don't really like that. I want them to feel comfortable at the table. I don't want them to be afraid to come to meals. So we want to have something that they like. Doesn't have to be a whole meal that's catered for them. You don't have to short order cook for them, but you want to have one thing at the meal that you know is something that they usually like. Then you're also going to have at least one thing that is something that they are learning to like. Okay, that's it. I feel like I'm doing some weird peace thing here, but pairing those together is where you're going to see a lot of success. Now, if they don't want the food on their plate, the learning it food on their plate, you can have a tasting plate or tasting napkin on the side where you say, this is not going to be near your actual food that you're eating. It's over here, and get them comfortable with that before we move it onto their plate. You also can try having them serve themselves. If they're too young to really do it on their own, you can help them, but sometimes kids will put something on their plate if they serve it themselves, and they can put it where they want it and all that. Okay, I see this like blue hand next to, I don't know what that means, a raised hand. What does that mean? Brianna, if I'm saying your name right, I'm sorry if I'm not. Will you add, just put in the comments or Q&A, because I am a little Zoom challenged and I don't know what the raised hand means. So I will help, but just put like a comment or a chat. Someone has a question. That's what it means. Okay, put your question, because I don't think there's a way for me to unmute you. I would if I could, but I really, I don't think I can. So just put it in the Q&A. Okay, sorry guys. Oh, I'm learning. Okay, let me add a blog post. This one's all about getting your little one to try new foods. So this will give you more detail on that. Now, there was a question that came in before I started, an email question that said, what is the best way to respond when I put food down for my daughter and she immediately says she doesn't want it? And the best way to respond is to really not have much of a response, because sometimes when they say, I don't want it, or I don't like it, what they really mean is, I'm not hungry right now, or I'm tired, I'm cranky, a whole host of things. So, or I'm scared of this food. It can be any of that. So what I would say is, you don't have to eat it. We can always tell them you don't have to eat it. That's okay. And just kind of leave it there. You're going to make sure you have the one thing that they normally like at the meal. They don't want that either. You're done. You don't have to go grab them anything else. They can have their fit, they can have their tantrum. You know, you did your job of providing the food, and you know that you gave something that you can reasonably expect that they'd normally eat. So beyond that, I would just be done. If they want to be really upset about it, that's okay. You can just kind of let that happen. Let me see. If my child likes PBJ but doesn't want to eat chicken, I should offer both. Yes. The 14-month-old throws the new food on the floor. I would give her like a small amount and tell her what it is, describe it to her, and then I have a whole YouTube video on food throwing. So go check that out because I know that's annoying as anything. All right, let's get through a couple of these tips on veggies, and then I'm gonna hop into your Q&A. One thing, oh, I have a blog post for you. This is all about, it's called The Secret to Getting Your Toddler to Eat Veggies. But I have some good tips in there. One is that we want to model for them. We want to eat it ourselves. A lot of times our schedule, our eating schedule doesn't quite line up with our toddlers. Maybe you want to eat after they go to bed so you can actually sit there and enjoy your meal. So they're not eating meal with you or whatever reason. But being able to show them that you enjoy these foods too, they can see you eating them, is huge. Something that helps a lot is serving veggies as an appetizer. So a lot of times they're hungriest right at the beginning of the meal. This is like a researched strategy as well. They show that kids eat more veggies when you offer them before a meal. So don't like stress about always having an appetizer or whatever, but if you can throw out some sliced cucumbers or something, then do it. Sometimes parents will ask me about serving with a dip, and my answer is yes, do it. If they love ranch, they love ketchup, whatever it is, I'm happy for them to use their vegetable as a vehicle to just eat that dressing because it's giving them that positive experience with the veggie, and it does lead to them eating it down the road. And then just take some pressure off of yourself. Fruit gives them the same nutrients as vegetables. Literally all the vitamins and minerals that they need, they're all in fruits as well. So there's nothing extraordinarily magical about veggies that fruits don't have. So if they like fruit, then that can be their like it food at a meal, and the veggies can be a learning it, and you don't have to feel like they're not getting what they need because they're not eating veggies. So there you go. Now I'm going to get into Q&A. Just so you know, I do offer picky eater online consults. So if you're like, I need a whole lot more help than this, take a look at my website, go to Get Nutrition Help, and we can chat. Okay, I'm going to get into Q&As. What if the toddler has a gag? Oh, answer live. Oh, I don't know how this works. Oh, you guys. I'm terrible at Zoom. Okay, so if the toddler has a strong gag reflex present, I would probably, if you hadn't mentioned it to your pediatrician already, I would. They might recommend you going to a speech pathologist or an occupational therapist just to get things checked out, make sure that everything looks good to them. Sometimes kids just are a little bit delayed with that, but sometimes it can be a sign of something else going on. So would definitely recommend getting that checked out. Let's see. My 15-month-old used to eat anything, but now she just plays anything I put on her table with her hand. Oh, plays with anything I put on her table. She sips and then spits everything out. I know this behavior. She just wants to have milk all day. I don't know how to get her back on eating solids. So part of me wonders if she is teething. Sometimes that can set you back. If you're still using a bottle, I would say bye-bye to the bottle or like a sippy cup. We want to make sure that she's using either an open cup or a straw cup or one of the 360s for her milk. Someone else had asked me about milk before this, so I'm going to go ahead and pop in my Milk for Toddlers blog post as a side note about how much milk they need, because we want it to be about 16 to 20 ounces total once they hit 1 year old. The cow's milk or a non-dairy alternative, we really want to keep it to that 16 to 20 ounce limit so that they are able to eat other foods as well. And you're allowed to say no. In terms of playing, the other thing too is that their appetite goes down, their growth really slow. So in their first year of life, they triple their birth weight. That's amazing. That's such a big amount of growth. And then in their second year, it slows dramatically. So a lot of times you'll see after they hit their first birthday that they don't have the same appetite that they did when they were a baby, even though they're bigger. So that can be part of it too. I would recommend with her really sticking to the routine with meals and snacks and offering milk along with the meal or the snack, not in between, because when it's in between, it will mess with their appetite for solids. Can lack of trying new foods affect speech development in toddlers? Sorry, the reason I'm stuttering there is that no, but if they've been kind of delayed all along with food, then that might signal that there's something else going on there related to speech. And we do want to introduce them to other textures. It does help them develop those muscles in their mouth when they are having more than purees, when you're giving them a variety of textures. Nothing too hard or crunchy, of course, but yes. Okay, so let me see. I'm trying to check these off. Here we go. Okay, Jessica. My 1 year old seems to have a small appetite even without snacks. She's always been a slow gainer and a tiny baby, only 18 pounds. We often skip snacks because she won't eat a lot at meals. She does have milk after each meal. Our small appetite's normal too. She also will like something one day and not the next. Face palm emoji. Yes, so it is normal. When I'm looking at the Q&A, you can still see me. Okay. So small appetite is also normal. Every child is going to be extremely different. What I hear most about is her rate of growth. Is she staying along her curve? Is the pediatrician satisfied with the growth? I feel like this is backwards on the camera. I don't know how to show this the right way, but basically you want an upward trend that's kind of following along their curve. And in terms of skipping snacks, I would think more of a snack as a mini meal. So if you're saying that if you offer snacks, she doesn't eat a meal at all, then you don't have to, but you could even do something like a quarter of a peanut butter sandwich as a snack, a yogurt. It doesn't have to be snack food. It can be meal food. And then, and if she's having, I would give her milk along with her meal. But if her growth is fine, then I am happy. Okay, let's see. Jill, my son will literally not try a new food, especially for dinner. If I don't feed him dinner, he goes to bed hungry and then wakes up in the middle of the night. How can I get through this hurdle? Jill, I feel for you because it's less common for them to skip dinner and actually still be hungry and waking up in the middle of the night. So I guess my question would be, what do you do in the middle of the night? If you're offering him something besides water, then I would say we need to cut that and have one crappy night to get through on the other side so he can understand that he's not going to get something in the middle of the night. I'm guessing he's at least 2. So I would say have a crappy night of not great sleep if he doesn't eat much at dinner. He's got to learn that he needs to fill up during the day. So you're going to make sure you're offering him something that he likes at his meal so that he does have some, even if it's bread, I'm okay with that, at his dinner. And then he should be okay. Or a banana. Like, I really don't care, honestly, what it is. It doesn't have to like go with the meal. It can just be something random that you serve along with the meal. That is something that they like. Okay. Amanda, what if they're very adamant about having the same thing for breakfast every day, toast for almost 3 years, unless it's an unhealthy option like donut or croissant? And then how many meals a day should you incorporate a new food? Okay, so let's answer the first part. If they're very adamant about having the same thing for breakfast every day, I would try the breakfast cards and make it like a fun thing, and just not offer toast 2 days in a row. Or if you feel like that's not going to work, then start by doing different types of bread as the toast, and maybe offering a different, like, can we do peanut butter or almond butter on the toast one day, butter or cream cheese another day, and trying something different. I also am not opposed to going for the donut or the croissant sometimes to start breaking up the pattern. So you really just want to start working towards some sort of change, and then increase the change as you go. And how many meals a day should you incorporate a new food? I mean, at least one. If I realize that it's not always like sit down and have all this time, and sometimes you just gotta get food on the table. So aim for at least one. If you can do 2, that's great too, but get at least one that you're working on it. Okay, Jill, what if you put a familiar food with new foods and then they don't try the new foods at all? Yes, this can happen. And this goes back to us remembering what is our job and what is their job. Our job is to provide the food. Their job is to decide if they're going to eat it and how much they're going to eat it. So we just kind of have to let it go. We can say what the food is, what it's like, describe the properties. Is it crunchy? Is it salty? Try and relate it to something that they already have tried before. And then we just got to kind of leave it there and say, I did my job. That's really all I can do today. And do you have any suggestions for not eating lunch at daycare? She waits for snack time instead of eating her lunch. I try to make a similar meal that matches the school hot meal schedule so she sees other kids eating similar food. I sometimes give a backup sandwich, but then if she sees me making that in the morning, she just waits for that instead of trying the new food. And since at daycare, you're not there, I would prioritize giving her something that you know she's going to eat at her lunch. She might not feel 100% comfortable there, and just because it's not home, not that there's anything wrong with there, but kids often just feel the most comfortable at home. So I would say back off on a new food at lunch and focus on the other meals to do that. And then in pairing the things she likes and the things she's getting to like, do you give refills of the things she likes? Yes, I'm glad you asked that because it's a common question. And yes, I do not believe in limiting their portions unless there's a real reason to. So for example, there's 4 rolls and everyone is going to get one in the family. Okay, so sorry, there were only 4 rolls available. But if you're limiting it because you have some other agenda, like you think, well, they're going to have to eat this other thing if I limit it, it just doesn't end up working. So I rather them know that they can fill up on something. Basically, if you're serving something at a meal, you're saying this food is okay. You're allowed to eat this, and I want you to listen to your body and do you need more to eat? If the answer is yes, okay, you have more. Okay, I'm going to start trying to answer faster because I see lots of questions coming in. Okay, and you guys can always send me a DM on Instagram. I'm usually not like very quick at getting back to you, but I do get back to you. Catherine says, I'm in a dinner time rut with chicken nuggets. Do you have any easy recipe ideas for my toddler? I do. I can't believe I didn't share this. So I have a dinner time survival guide. I'm just going to type that in here because I don't have the link for you. Dinner time survival guide. It's on my website and it's awesome. You guys, it is 6 weeks of weeknight meals that you can make in 15 minutes or less. Literally, they're toddler friendly, they're picky eater friendly because I talk about how to pair the like it foods with the learning it foods, and it is awesome. So definitely check that out on my site. Angela says, I have a 3-year-old boy who almost never eats, hardly snacks, and then wants to eat late at night. So I would have a talk with him. He's old enough where you can talk to him directly and say, I have been letting you eat late at night, but it's really best for you to eat earlier in the day. So what I would like to do is to get you on a different schedule of meal and snacks. And because it might take him a day or two to kind of regulate. So if he's eating late at night, he's not going to be hungry in the morning because he's still kind of working on that food in his digestion from late at night. So I would say talk to him about it, be deliberate about it, change the schedule, write it down if you need that reminder, and then shift him so that he then does have that appetite in the morning and it should balance out. Christy, I always feel guilty when I provide a plate and he doesn't eat anything. He's already so tiny, sending him to bed without something in his belly makes me feel awful. Tips. Yes, Christy. Oh, I know it's so hard for my moms who worry about their little one getting enough and being on the smaller side. So one, you don't have to feel guilty because you are providing a meal. And a lot of kids do tend to eat earlier in the day. So it's pretty common for me to see kids fill up more in the first half of the day and then not eat all that much at dinner time, but they're still okay. Like think about Thanksgiving dinner that say you eat it at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and you're like, I'm good for the rest of the day. Like I don't need any more. And so I would say put some trust in his body as long as he's growing well. If he's tiny and he's growing well, then I would say put the trust in his body. But you can offer him a bedtime snack. So I didn't talk about bedtime snacks yet. You can do a bedtime snack, but if you do, I say incorporate it into the regular routine. Don't make it be like something that you only do if they didn't eat dinner, because then they learn, oh, I can just skip dinner and get a bedtime snack. So have it be something simple, a yogurt, a string cheese, a banana, like something easy. And then you will probably feel better just offering him something before bed if he didn't eat his dinner. Okay. Lorena says, my 2.5-year-old throws the food he doesn't want in the garbage when I'm not looking, or if he doesn't, he automatically says yucky and pushes it aside. Oh man, these toddlers. Okay, so if I would first talk to him about your expectations and tell him that you don't want him to eat anything he doesn't want to. It's okay if he doesn't want a food. He doesn't have to throw it away. He can tell you he doesn't want it. And I also tell my toddlers that you don't know if you like a food or not. You might be unsure about it, but you have to try a food 100 times before you really know. So when you've tried it 100 times, I will let you say it's yucky. But until then, you just have to say, I'm not sure. I'm still learning this food. Something like that. Okay. This one is anonymous. My daughter is 2.5 and won't eat anything other than stage 2 baby food and doesn't chew her food. When I offer her table food, she gags or throws up. Okay. I would definitely recommend looking into feeding therapy. So SOS, I'm just typing it into the chat right now. Go to Google SOS feeding therapy and get an evaluation because there could be a variety of things going on, but at this stage, we don't want to see her gagging or throwing up on these more advanced textures. So I would get an evaluation with a good feeding therapist. Usually this is covered by insurance, and then go from there. That's what I would do. Okay, Kendall, if we keep telling our daughter she doesn't have to eat it, she just wants a ton of breast milk all night, and I'm so ready to wean. How to combat that cycle? Oh, Kendall, that's a hard one. And honestly, I would reach out to my friend. She's on Instagram at the.lactation.nutritionist. I'll type it at the lactation nutritionist, because she's going to be able to help you with that. Jill, how can I get my 2-year-old off of pouches? I would limit to 1 a day. I'm totally fine with 1 a day. And you can give them the choice here of saying, you can have your pouch with lunch or with dinner or whenever you want to offer it. Give them 2 choices of when you get to have your pouch. They can even choose which one. You give them 2 or 3 options. Which one would you like? But that's it for today. We'll have another one tomorrow, and be firm in that, and know that you're probably going to meet some resistance. But if you're following the like it, learning it, then you should be okay at meals with something other than a pouch too. Camila, my 22-month-old doesn't eat 3 meals a day. I notice she eats a little bit more at night before bed. How do I correct this behavior? I would go and read that post of mine on the, I think it's called like toddler snacking. It's towards the beginning of my links, and it'll talk more about schedule, and I would go there. Okay, Jennifer, my 18-month-old doesn't like getting any wet food on her hands. She gets very upset, but still isn't great with a spoon or fork. Is this normal, or any suggestions? Some kids are more sensitive to different textures than others. I would try and do some play with her, some sensory play, and go to like Busy Toddler or Days with Gray, and you can get a ton of ideas. And being able to do some non-food things that are wet, if that's too much for her, then if she won't do that either, then I would chat through it with the pediatrician, because they might be able to hook you up with somebody who can help with the sensory piece for her. But I would say try with that, and also show her, like, always give her a towel, give her the tools, and say, you can always wipe your hands, or ask me to please wipe, to help her as she kind of adjusts to it. With the spoon or the fork, I would ask which one you're using. I really like either the Grabbies, I'll type it. Grabbies is one, and then Bumpkins, what is it called? I forget. But they have one too, and they're really small and ergonomically designed, and you can do, you can help her, like put your hand over her hand and help her get the food so that she can become more proficient with utensils. Erica, you mentioned modeling food behaviors. How do 2 piggy parents model better behaviors with a piggy child? I think this is actually really great, because you can really empathize with your little one and know what it feels like to not want to get out of your comfort zone. And it's okay for you to talk about that and to talk through it, to be able to say, I'm not so sure about this broccoli. I've tried it before, and I'm still kind of hesitant about it, but I'm going to try it and see what it feels like in my mouth, or see what the taste is like. And then you could say, you know, it's still not my favorite. That's okay. You don't have to act like, oh, this is so great, this is so wonderful. Like, be real with them, and that's totally fine. You're also probably gonna realize that if you both are picky, you're not surprised that your little one is that way as well. Okay, my daughter still only drinks from a bottle and she's 2.5. She throws any other cup. She won't even try to drink from it or isn't even interested in sippy cups. So I hate that this is the answer for you because this is not fun, but I would just hide the bottles or lock them away, throw them out if you're done with them, give them to a friend. Because if it's still an option, then she's going to continue throwing the other cups. So you have to make it so it's not an option anymore. And then she eventually will drink from another cup. You can try to have like a little party. I am a big girl now. I don't use bottles anymore. Let's pick out a cup together. She still might be like, no, you're terrible. And that might happen, but you will get through it. So do it. Megan. Okay. I have a couple more minutes here. So let me see how many more. I don't think I'm going to get to all of them, but if I don't get to your question, then like I said, DM me or email me and I'll help you out. Okay. When our son was 2 in daycare, they taught him to take a no thank you bite to try it. So we've kept this up since then and he's now 4. Is this still okay? It's okay as long as he doesn't mind. So some kids are more easygoing about it and they don't throw a fit. So if he's kind of like, yeah, that's fine, I'll take a no thank you bite, or just try it. Yeah, like I'm not really opposed to that. But for a lot of you, you might say that would cause an issue with my little one. So I would say don't do it if it's gonna cause a huge fight. Okay. The texture, a question about textures, that you have texture issues and it seems your son does sometimes as well. So for that, I would say again with like the sensory play that can help. And then I wonder if, you know what, if you can send me an email. I'm gonna write my email address in here for you guys. Kacie at MamaKnowsNutrition.com, because there's a website I'm thinking of, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. And recipes, hiding veggies in a meal. For recipes, I do like Super Healthy Kids, Weelicious. Those are good ones. I have some recipes on my site too. And like I said, that Dinnertime survival guide that I have is really good. I also have, it's called No Sugar, Still Sweet. It's an ebook that is like breakfast, desserts, snacks, things that are sweet, but they're only sweetened with fruit. No added sugars in them. So I think there's some veggies in there, but they're really healthy recipes. Okay. Angela, what if my toddler doesn't want milk? Is milk really necessary? No, it is not really necessary. It's convenient. It's a good way to get them protein, calcium, vitamin D, DHA, if your milk is DHA fortified, and fat. So those things are all great, but you can get them elsewhere. Milk is not necessary. Make sure you're getting the calcium from something else. Okay. Do you have a resource for good ways to serve veggies to toddlers? Yes. I have a post on my website about broccoli that I can't remember, but it's like broccoli, like 10 ways. But then I also have, so if you go into my Instagram profile, I have an Amazon shop, and something that's really fun is these little, they're like cookie cutters, but they're meant for fruit and veggies. They're like this big and they're cute little shapes, and that's like a fun thing to do with toddlers too. Okay, I think I'm gonna do 2 more. So let me look. Milk, so a lot of these milk questions, I want you guys to go to my milk blog post. Kendall, you're feeling like there's no safe foods. then I would also look into a feeding therapist. You can just have a phone call with them. But if you're that limited and there's nothing that's safe for her, I mean, one, I would be curious about any potential food allergies or GI issues. I think you meant to say constipation. It came out as consultation. I'm sure that's like a weird autocorrect. So this may go beyond nutrition. And I would say talk to the pediatrician and consider feeding therapy as a potential option. Okay, one more. Can ketchup be used as a dip for veggies? Yes, it can. And I just posted a blog post today about summertime foods. So like if you're grilling, or I was originally thinking 4th of July, but then I was like, well, 4th of July is probably like canceled. But I do have a brand recommendation for ketchup that's like lower in sugar. And I think they actually have like added veggies in it if you're in the US. But either way, it's fine. One more thing. Let's see. I'm trying to answer one that I feel like will apply to many of you. There's a couple questions about getting off the bottle. So I really like what we aim for really is 12 months to wean off the bottle and switch to serving milk at meals in a cup. Now, it's not like you must cut it off at 12 months, but I really would say you want to be thinking about it by 14 months. If you're at like 18 months or beyond, then you're like, okay, it's time for the bottle to go. There's a couple things, a couple reasons why. One, they often drink more than they need just because they get it faster, and that can interfere with them getting what they need from foods, as well as contribute to iron deficiency. It also can interfere with their oral motor stuff. I'm not a speech therapist, so can't say I understand that one 100%, being honest with you guys. But that's going on there too. And we just really want to transition them more to like the grown-up meal thing. So I usually say to just go cold turkey with the bottle, because I think it's a lot easier for a toddler to understand the concrete of like, it's gone. Not, well, mom seems to let me have it sometimes, so I'm gonna still ask for it. So I would say just say goodbye. Know that it's okay if they don't drink any milk for, say, several days. Like you offer them this cup, that cup, the other cup, and they don't want it, that's fine. You can start with water and adding a little bit of milk. So say this is your cup. I feel like I'm giving really bad visuals today, but fill like this much. So say you have an 8-ounce cup, you're gonna put 1 ounce of milk, 7 ounces of water. Milky water sounds kind of gross, but a lot of times they will start with that. Okay, I do have a post about reading the nutrition label for snacks. Someone asked me to link that. I don't have the link here, but it's called like Walgreen snacks. If you go on my site and search for Walgreen snacks, I have a list of like healthy snacks that you can find at Walgreens or CVS, wherever you run into, and then also what I look for on a label for snacks and how I decide if they are healthy. Okay, there's still more questions. I wish I could answer you guys, but I have to let my babysitter go and take my puppy out, go potty. So this was so fun for me, and feel free to reach out to me if you need something else. Otherwise, I'll see you around. Say hi to me on Instagram or wherever you find me, and have a good night, you guys.